Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris and I just got done watching Suspiria. And with this video I will be touching upon the ending of the movie, explaining its meanings, its symbolisms, its hidden details. So if you have not watched the film, please click away because it will be completely spoiler filled. I have a review that is spoiler free if you want to check that out, link in the description or card right above me. So by the end of Suspiria we find out that Dakota Johnson's character Susie Bannion has been Mother Suspirium all along. And the final ritual where Mother Markos will go ahead and transfer her soul into the vessel of Dakota Johnson's character is completely turned around, and it becomes a sabotage because Mother Markos has been going around calling herself Mother Suspirium. And of course the actual Mother Suspirium, Susie, did not take well to this and decides to kill her and all her followers who voted her to be the new leader of the Covenant Company Studio Dance Academy. So at this point you're either shocked, you're in awe, or you've fallen asleep because this movie was kind of boring to you. I'm not going to blame you for whichever one you were. I'll reveal what I thought of it towards the end of the movie, but let's explain how we got to this point. So at the beginning of the movie we get Chloe Moretz's character who goes in to see a doctor. Now this is Joseph Kempler and he's actually played by Tilda Swinton. Now that actually isn't a hidden meaning of itself, it's just the fact that Tilda Swinton played 3 characters in this movie. She of course played herself Madame Blanc, and then she was in tons of prosthetics playing Mother Markos, and she was also in a bit of prosthetics playing Dr. Joseph Kempler. Now these 3 don't really have a connection, or why they did this, who knows, but Tilda Swinton is an amazing actress and she pulled it off quite nicely. And while at this meeting, Chloe Moretz's character Patricia reveals to the doctor that she believes she is being controlled and involved with a covenant of witches. He just really takes it all as her being delusional or stressed, and maybe the lifestyle of a dancer has gotten to her head. She goes off and disappears for the night, and Joseph Kempler doesn't see her again for many days. She did, however, leave her stuff, including a diary of everything she's collected while at this dance academy. It's here where we get a lot of the explanation of what was going on, and as Joseph is uncovering it, so is the audience. While that's happening, however, we have Dakota Johnson's character, who is an American woman from Ohio, who has come to audition at this dance academy located in Berlin during the 1977 Cold War. Now this backdrop of the war is actually very important to the movie and is the main symbolism playing throughout it. But it's very obvious from the beginning she's a very skilled dancer and quickly becomes the lead of their main performance that they'll do later in the year, titled Volk. It's here at the dance academy where things start to get a little creepy and weird. As Dakota Johnson's character is entering the group, becoming the lead, we have another dancer who decides to leave and go to a competitive group. As she leaves, she does call the instructors witches, and it is her in attempting to leave the place that we get to figure out why this dance academy is sort of the thing that these witches are involved in. It turns out their dances are very spiritual and are their main source of executing dangerous spells. Now Tilda Swinton's character Madame Blanc puts a spell on Dakota Johnson's character as she is dancing, and while she is performing this dance, in another room the woman who decided to leave is then being tortured, misshapen, and construed to horrifying conclusions. Now the important thing to remember from this scene is Madame Blanc, after the dance has been completed, places her hand on Susie's back. It could be explained here that Madame Blanc is transferring skills, souls, aspirations into the character of Dakota Johnson. My theory on this is backed up when later in the movie Susie's character needs to perform these jumps. However, she is not capable of elevating the jumps that the instructor and Madame Blanc is wanting, but Madame Blanc points out one of the dancers who is able to perform this, and later on that character has a seizure, almost losing her skills and abilities, transferring them over to Susie. Every time a character dies in this movie, some of these witches retain their abilities, their strengths, and it's sort of a rejuvenation for them to keep them living. Touching more upon this, throughout the movie we get to see these dancers vote for either Markos or Madame Blanc, and the reason they're choosing this is because they're choosing their leader of their house. Madame Blanc always seems to get voted out and Madame Markos is always left on top, and this mainly is because she claims to be Mother Suspirium. Now I'm going to pause here from the movie for a second and explain this mythology. Now this is a mythology that the original director from 1977 came up when making the movie Suspiria. He came up with the idea of 3 mothers of witches. Now these are ancient beings that have been around for ages. They even predate God. They supposedly have just been around for a long time, and they rule the world in darkness, tears, and sighs. And touching more upon that, the original 1977 movie of Suspiria is actually the first in a trilogy going through each one of the mothers. In the first one you have Mother Suspirium, then you have Mother Tenburum, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and she is the mother of darkness, and then you have Mother Lacrimarium. Now she is the mother of tears. That director went on and made a movie of each of those mothers and connect them loosely by just that mythology. So this related According to the movie, the only mother we get to see is Mother Suspiria. None of the other witches are any of the ancient mothers. Mother Markos is claiming to be Mother Suspiria, the all-powerful, and that's why a lot of these women decide to take her side. Going back to Joseph Kempler and his importance to the story, he is basically the connecting factor of this Cold War to the witch covenant. Now, he is constantly attending this cottage where he once stayed with his love. However, many years ago in 1943, I believe is what the movie says, his love got taken away from him and he never knows what happened to her. He fears the worst, that she got captured by Nazis, that she was put into a concentration camp, or maybe she did escape but just never returned back to Germany in fear that she would get caught. However, the doctor always remains hope and continues attending this place, hoping that one day she will be there. Aside from that, he keeps digging into Patricia's diary and he finds out more and more about the Covenant. Now, while he doesn't completely believe it, he does think something sinister is going on in that dance academy, especially since some of the girls have gone missing. He contacts one of the girls, Sarah, has a lunch with her, brings up his suspicions, tells her to be careful with that place, rising her suspicions and ending her to look around the dance academy. It's here where she finds some of the hidden passageways, looks at some of the ancient items like their spears, knives, or boobtastic statues. She begins to believe it, warns Susie's character, but Susie isn't at all alarmed, causing Sarah to believe that she's actually in cahoots with these witches. We later find out she never really is in cahoots with the witches, she never made a deal with them, she just knows what's going on at all times and is completely in control of the situation. She knows that the dance Volk is actually a ritual where she will be transferring her soul into the soul of Madame Markos. This is also why after Sarah was snooping around, broke her leg, but then was fixed so that she could complete the dance and the ritual, it was also stopped. It was not stopped by an accident, and it was not her pain of the broken leg that overcome. It was actually Susie herself that stopped the dance, because if it was completed, she would no longer be in control. All the witches believe though, however, that it was because of her broken leg overcoming the spell she was put on and the trance that ended that ceremony from happening. Now, like I said, after it's revealed that Markos was not actually Mother Suspiria, that it was Susie all along, she goes ahead and kills all those false believers. Also, being that Mother Suspiria was the mother of sighs, this is also why throughout the movie you hear the breaths of her dying mother. We get flashbacks at the beginning of the movie and all throughout it that there's a woman dying in her bed, and her final thoughts to her doctor before she passes away is, "My only sin is my daughter." She's of course talking about her daughter Susie in this instance, and we even get to see little tidbits of her nightmares of how she grew up. She seemed to always be constantly disciplined, being thrown into the closet, even at one point having an iron put onto her hand. We as the audience members just kind of assume she had a pretty rough childhood, but honestly, if she was Mother Suspiria and an evil witch, I don't think she was a really great kid to have. So the sighs throughout the movie are hints that she is Mother Suspiria. Now here's where the film really connects to everything going on in the Cold War. First off, you have Mother Markos, who is being a false leader, who is pretending to be someone she is not, who is leading this covenant into a false sense of pride. And this is very much like in what was happening in Berlin at the time with the walls, having a west side and an east side, making the people pick or unforcefully having to choose a side. Once those false believers are eradicated, Madame Blanc's side is spared as to be given the option to follow the correct leader in the covenant, that is Susie, Mother Suspiria. The kidnapping that happened with Chloe Moretz's character Patricia is also in symbolism to what was happening at the time, where people were being kidnapped and sent to these concentration camps, which is also what happened to the wife of Joseph Kempler. This point is revealed when, after Mother Suspiria has taken over, goes and visits Dr. Joseph Kempler and revealing to him exactly what did happen to his wife. She actually reveals a very sad and crucial story of what happened to her, being taken away at the concentration camps, making friends, and then being left out in the open naked to die by the force of nature and the cold winds. Now, like I've said, there's a lot of connections to this Cold War. The dance academy is basically a concentration camp, and the way that Dr. Joseph Kempler's wife died in that concentration camp is not very different to the way some of these women would die in the dance academy. It's torture, it's humiliating, and it takes away their free will. The movie is just heavily commentating on the political structure of them, and when she erases his memory, comments a lot on the fact that people forget that these wars happen and the importance of them, leaving the sorrows behind and not really looking ahead to repeat the same mistakes. But really, with all that explained, man, I hated this movie. I did not like it. Maybe hate's a strong word, but I just did not enjoy my experience in the theater with this movie. It was not my cup of tea. I understood the symbolism, the metaphors, and everything it was trying to accomplish, and it did have my curiosity. And after the movie ended, it did have me thinking a lot about it. And when I woke up this morning, It was the first thing I thought of, being that I just watched it yesterday. Now, the director of the movie did put in a post-credits scene where you have Mother Suspiria, Susie's character, walking up and making a hand motion. And this is really just signaling more things to come. Now, what I think this director is going to go for is he's going to also try to create the Mother trilogy. This is where he's going to tell his separate story of the three mothers, because in this movie, we only had Mother Suspiria. So if they do make a sequel, we'll probably most likely be touching upon the remaining two mothers. But if that's not the case, he also mentioned that a prequel to Tilda Swinton's character, Madame Blanc, would be interesting, and also a background to what many years ago Madame Markos was doing. I honestly am not interested in that. I really don't care to see where that goes. He also mentioned maybe a further look into what Mother Suspiria, since the movie does end in modern time, zooming in on the cottage, but you see a woman on the side on a cell phone. To me, the saving grace of the movie was Dr. Joseph Kempler, because I sympathize more with his story. I found it more interesting. When things were going on with the dance academy, I could kind of care less, but when they focused on Joseph Kempler and what he was doing, I was really intrigued in the movie. This is the type of movie that your weird, sadistic friend would recommend to you, telling you it's an amazing film, it's a great film. It's like if that guy from The Office, Gabe, recommended this movie to everyone in the office. You remember that scene?
The cinema of the unsettling is a growing film movement. The most well-known film in the genre is an hour-long shot of a squirrel with diarrhea.
But guys, that's just really my honest opinion on the movie. If you ended up liking this movie, loving it in fact, please let me know down below. Convince me of why I should love this movie, because I just honestly didn't. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. But as always, I'm Chris, and take care.